So we are all set for the panel discussion. The topic is, do digital transformation, security and sustainability go hand in hand? So we have Ms. Archana Joshi as moderator. Archana is AVP Global Technology Office at LTI Mindtree India. And as a panelist, we have Alex Hong. Alex is Strategic Advisor, Digipulse Data. Ayan Chu, who is the founder and chief executive for GreenyWeb. Rahul Singh, Assistant Director, Global Marketing and Strategy at Nanyang Technological University. Randeep Kapoor, Field Director and CTO Ambassador, Dell Technologies. And Stanley Sang, Distinguished Engineer and Senior Director, CSA.
Yeah, is this working? Yeah, it is. I can pass my mic to you. Yeah.
Hey, I think there is too much mic on this side. Yeah, now it's balanced.
Okay. Yeah. There's one more. Yeah, we have 30 minutes.
I can do rap.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion, where we are going to talk about three topics coming together. One, of course, is the security aspects, and we've been hearing a lot about security since morning. Second is the resilience part of it. And then the third, of course, is the sustainability aspects, which all of us are curious about. How does it impact both security and resilience? If I look at Singapore itself, and I was just reading some news in the morning, one of the things was that the Singapore Environment Minister has said that they want to accelerate goals towards sustainability, and one of the things they have said is digital transformation and digital adoption is going to help them get there. There's also a lot of talks that are happening, and I would just, actually, if you look around this hotel premises itself, if you look around all the roads that are there in Singapore, there's a lot of talks about sustainability, awareness, recycling, all of that. But I think the topic that we are exploring today is, apart from the things which were obvious and which all of us kind of imagine when environment-friendly things are talked about, how does technology play a role in all of this, right? And to get the panel discussion started, I would like to request Alex to give us a view that when you talk about sustainability, what happens from a business angle, what happens from an organization angle, and why should companies truly care about it? Is it just a hype, or is there something they need to do about it?
Thanks for the question. It's definitely not a hype. As you know, sustainability is not just something that is doing good. Okay, it's never an understanding. I mean, from my understanding is that yes, we all need to do good. Okay, but it has to be doing good from a business perspective. It cannot be actually a loss-making environment. We don't want to be like a kind of innovation center whereby you call yourself a cost center. We are not a cost center. We are definitely for profit. A lot of the time is that I feel that in the current state, sustainability, we need what I term coordinated collaboration, which is quite lacking in a lot of cases because companies don't understand what sustainability, the benefits of sustainability is to them, and of course the idea of long-termism, to have a long-term aspect of what sustainability could be or what it could be like. Currently, our ROI is still relatively short, and we want to see results straight away. In terms of our climate change, how we want to have our climate change ambition, how we want to have a sustainability ambition, we cannot enact changes overnight. This is something that some leaders don't understand, and it's unfortunate because to me, sustainability is more than a CSR or a PR exercise. It's something that your company needs to have internalized. For example, I want to have this state whereby in the future, I go to any employee of a company, I ask that person, in your role of your work, what do you understand by sustainability? If that person can actually answer me that, I mean, most of us could be made redundant in a way because we have already understood what sustainability is all about. Yeah.
I like the term that you used. Long-term view of sustainability can be achieved through coordinated collaboration across various entities. And one of the entity which is there is a lot of academia, corporations, plus the individuals that are coming in together. And I would like to take that cue and ask Rahul to say that how are you seeing this sustainability angle coming into play, given that you are coming from a lot of academia background as well?
Yeah, slightly different to your view. And what I would say there is that in solving the sustainability issue in industry, we have now created sustainability issue in digital economy itself, in digitalization itself. Now, if you look around, there are 34 billion devices, which is 4 for every 1 person on the planet. 16% of the GDP of the world is digital technology, out of which digital transformation is 2.8 trillion. That's the same size as India's GDP, right? So on one side, you have these digital equipments, you have digitalization that is growing. But on the other side, most people don't know, but the digital footprint of the, I would say carbon footprint of the ICT industry is actually double that of aviation. 4% is for ICT and 2% for airlines. Yet airlines gets all the slack and nobody talks about the impact of the IT industry or the digitalization. Now, why is that so? So I would contrast that with something which I call handprint and footprint. So footprint is something that you invariably leave, regardless, as you walk on the planet. Every industry has it, every individual has it. Handprint is something that you put consciously, right? You have to consciously put handprint. So if you look at what I would say handprint of the digital industry, it's the impact that it creates. Invariably in that process, it has a carbon footprint. But is the impact, which I'm calling handprint, is it bigger than the footprint? That's the question we have to answer. And if you look at that, then the answer is yes. The amount of benefits you get by digitalizing far outweighs the amount of damage that you create in the process invariably, because that is a cost of doing it. At the same time, that is not to say that we should be totally oblivious about this. And I will give you one data point that might be interesting and that may give you some ray of hope. Between 2010 and 2020, there was 600% increase in data centers. But the amount of energy increase was only 6% because the data centers are becoming more efficient. So we have to get more efficient. We have to green the supply chain. We have to recycle the equipments themselves. Only then we can say that, yes, we are not only trying to remove processes which are inefficient using digital technology, but the digitalization itself is becoming more and more efficient.
Yeah. So if I take your analogy of a handprint and footprint forward, and I like the way you said that footprint is something that we invariably leave behind, whereas handprint is a purposeful intervention that we do to make sure our sustainability goals are achieved with minimal damage that can be made possible, right? And now I expand that to you, Stan, especially from a security angle, because what is happening is when we say security, vulnerability, we have to continuously look out for that. We have to continuously poll for it. And another angle to it is the environmental angle. So if I have to be and make sure I'm sustainable from a security standpoint, am I truly sustainable from an environment standpoint because I'm continuously increasing my energy consumption to look out for those attacks? And my question to you is, how do you balance and what do you think security professionals need to do to bring in the sustainability angle to it?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think it's actually a very valid question. Sustainability is actually it's just one more element to add in the total solution. Okay, just like any other emerging things, if we want to build sustainability, we need to use some of the emerging technology like cloud, like IoT and so on and so forth. So to us, okay, as a security professional, okay, we just need to look at, okay, in order to enable sustainability, okay, what kind of new technologies bring in, okay, when new technologies bring in, there will be new, okay, vulnerability, okay, possibly will come along with the solution. So, like for example, on cloud, okay, now, okay, in Singapore in particular, okay, we are in the forefront, okay, even in the government, we move majority of the infrastructure to cloud. So in order to actually to do that properly, we also need to actually, in the morning, I think early session, Stephen also talked about security by design. I think from the technology or security professional, we want the things to shift to the left. People things we can do it in earlier instead of we try to remediate the problem. So when we actually look at the new solution, we demand some of the guardrail when they build a product. Even a sustainable solution, if they can actually come up with security by design, when they push it out, when people consume it, it will have less risk. Of course, like just now, Stefan also mentioned, we will not be able to reduce every single vulnerability. There will be some residual risk still around. And then there will be a continued monitoring capability that will be built in to ensure we can actually monitor, detect, and address those the risks. So I think sustainability is actually something is important for us. Now I think from the technology, forget about the security for a while. I think from the solution architect perspective, when you create an initial solution, the sustainability will be one of the elements of the security or the architecture principle you should follow. That means some of the first principle, you should use in cloud instead of try to go on-prem. I know some of the sector, I'm actually from CSA, a majority in my CII sector, they are not on cloud, because there are a lot of constraints. One of the key initiatives from us is actually how, as a regulator, we can help the CII to actually move to a cloud in order also achieve some sustainability outcome as well. Because we have very broad ambitions. They want to do zero emission in 2030 within Singapore. It's actually like I think some of the previous discussion also talk about. It's a sport game. We cannot do it alone. We need from government we step up. And then the company also step up, and then together we'll be able to try to solve the problem.
Yeah. So there are two key points that you mentioned, right? One, increasingly the movement that's happening to the cloud, especially not just from a private sector, we are seeing the government sector, public sector, all of it moving towards it. With that, there's also an angle to make sure you are secure and not creating any further vulnerabilities. And by doing so, like few years back, we used to hear a cloud-first strategy, digital-first strategy. Essentially, what you're advocating is have a secure-first strategy where you are doing security by design, and also making sure that while you are doing that, have an eye on sustainability as well, so that you don't architect your solutions which are not understanding what environment angle to a particular solution is. So you have to be able to balance that, right?
Yes, that's exactly correct. So, for example, for me, I'm responsible to actually create solution within CSA. So some of the architecture principle which are laid out is actually we try to use in cloud as much as possible, even though we are a heavily regulated agency, and we need to come and debate why we cannot, why we actually need to put something on-prem. That's the least things we want to do, because from the manageability, the entire sustainability point of view, we want to push it to cloud.
Yeah, and if I take that and extend it further to you, Ian, where you are an architect of a solution yourself, you founded a company which is looking into sustainable solutions. And if I take that point from a solution architect standpoint, what would you say the techies need to know about sustainability and security? Because today, if you ask a developer, are they coding in a sustainable manner? Who knows? They wouldn't even know this concept, right? So what would you say, given you come from that background?
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ian, and I from Greenie Web. So, we are a Singapore climate tech company, and we focus on one thing and one thing only. We decarbonize digital infrastructure. You can think of that in the lens of us decarbonizing web pages, mobile applications, and the like. So, with that background, I just want to echo on what some of my fellow panelists have said, right? And I want to draw your attention to two very similar yet distinct terms. The first term is called sustainable digitization, and this really echoes to what Stephen mentioned just now. The idea of incorporating sustainability and security into the architectural design of a new built greenfield digital system, right? How do we embed sustainability from day one, right? But we need to recognize a second term that comes from a second scenario. The second scenario is that at present, as Rahul mentioned, we've got this massive number of devices and an equally massive ecosystem from a software point of view. That basically means that we've got lots of legacy software infrastructure out there. And therefore comes the second term, digital decarbonization, which is the entire process of us decarbonizing existing digital infrastructure which was built without sustainability in mind, infrastructure that was built with just very traditional rudimentary techniques. And this distinction is very important here because as we go forward, we can't just focus on building new green infrastructure. We also have to look at the baggage that we've had from all the digital transformation projects of the last 20, 30 years. So to kind of add to this situation, that's why I feel a two-pronged approach is required. One that looks both at the future in terms of how we really create this ecosystem, and one that also looks into the past, right? I'm not saying that what we did in the past was a mistake, but what I'm saying is that the very fundamental ways of coding in the past was to make something functional, right? So now what our focus would be is to make something both functional and sustainable. And that's why really at Greenie Web we have launched the 28 by 28 program. So in response to your question of how we can really raise awareness in the tech community. So the 28 by 28 program is a program that we're doing pro bono for 28 educational institutions around the world to raise awareness on digital sustainability before COP28 towards the end of this year, right? So that's really just taking the first step to ensuring that the next generation of coders can do it right, can do it sustainably.
Nice. So you are trying to look at building an ecosystem, both of the current talent, past talent, as well as the future talent who are coming into the industry to make sure they understand these principles so that they may not take the same missteps that perhaps their predecessors would have. And making sure that the baggage that we have existing in this ecosystem is also understood before we talk about and have some lofty goals from a sustainability standpoint, right? And that brings me to you, Randeep, where you, coming from Dell, have seen the entire chain, right from a hardware standpoint to a software to analytics, everything, right? And then my question to you is, when you look at a supply chain ecosystem that a Dell kind of a corporate would have, which is pretty complex with multiple vendors and suppliers providing it to you, how would you ensure in this ecosystem that your targets are met and they are equally secure, the components that are coming to you are resilient as well as sustainable? So there's a three balancing act that you have to do at your end.
Yeah, so, first of all, I'll say my job has become more easy now. Can I take it over? Yeah, because now people have started realizing, sustainability and digital transformation both are going hand in hand. In fact, both are promoting each other. Now, when I look at it from a point of view, not only but from supply chain, but a whole holistic angle, there are always three things which are going to make a business successful across any industry. You look at healthcare to manufacturing, where you have got business transformation happening on one side. At the same time, we are automating our processes, right? Whatever processes are there inside the factory, and it can be talking about paperless initiatives. It can be talking about, ensuring you are using energy to the right efficiency, right? At the same time, you are, reducing the water, wastage of water and doing all various kind of things, and you're trying to do a lot of recycling. Now, the moment all of these things got together, digital transformation and sustainability, people started realizing even a paperless initiative which was running in a factory is just not a digital initiative, it's also a sustainable initiative. So what happened is I got 2 votes in the organization to ensure that project kicks off, right? At the same time, now when I looked at the entire supply chain, right? So one was the core factory where you looked at overall equipment efficiency, production, downtime, everything. You put in a lot of things into the IT by introducing various kind of technologies like thermal cooling, like liquid immersion cooling, partial cooling, submerged cooling, or various other technologies. At the same time, we started realizing everything cannot be done just at the cloud. Because what was happening was you can't expect a production line to stop and tell you that some quality defect has happened and the defect decision is going to be made on the cloud, right? The decision has to happen over there only, on the edge. So the workload started distributing. And as soon as the workload started distributing, look at automotive industry, you're driving a car, and let's say a pedestrian comes in front of you. You're not expecting the data to go to the cloud and tell you you need to apply a brake, right? So there is edge that's coming into play, right? So that also made my job more easy, whereby I did not have to now educate my customers, regardless they were manufacturing, automotive industries or various industries. I had to explain them very easily that how you are going to distribute your workload, right? And manage the efficiency of your energy correctly. You don't need to burn thousands of kilowatts back into your data centers, right? And massive amount of energy is consumed over there. You don't need to process it over there. You could have made that decision just at the edge with a very small amount of 10 kilowatt of, a simple, 10 kilowatt of a server, or a very small server could have done that right at the edge, right? So that helped me to answer that part. Now, when I go back to that supply chain part of it, so one is inside and outside, where we talk about scope 1 and scope 2, everything that's happening inside the factory or everything that's happening outside the factory. There's also an ecosystem around, right? And that ecosystem is my suppliers and the suppliers of my suppliers. We started building various kind of applications and tool stacks, which is now telling me exactly where what is, what asset is where is the workforce, and how and where, how each and everything is coming back to us from a logistic point of view. And we were able to digitally map each and everything rather than using all these papers, emails, phones, collections and everything. A system was created in a place where we not only got connected to a supplier, but the suppliers of our suppliers. And that platform helped us to, not only be code efficient in terms of how much consumption of GPUs or CPUs or storage is being used, but you had a seamless platform where you had an integration across each and every level, and you had a scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 all speaking together, and we had a clear line of sight across the whole information. So all of this helped us, and that again helped my job easy. Rahul.
Yeah, I'll take your job anytime.
Could I ask a question? Your platform, do you think that the platform itself actually help people across the value system understand sustainability better? Because they now can see the aggregated effort become even bigger when through the corporate effort. I mean, individual employee would actually make a big difference when it comes to the corporate sustainability push.
Yeah, so actually, it made us realize a lot of activities, right? As soon as we got into these types of platforms, our job, I'll not say the job, but our visibilities and traceability across the entire ecosystem was very quick. And it also led into 2 or 3 things. When I talked about business, right? Business was the area where we brought a lot of optimization and orchestration across various systems. Processes were where you were actually digitalizing or automating or putting robotics process automations within the factory. But technology was the one which was enabling. And the third pillar, which is very important over here, which is the people. Now here the people, what you're talking about is within the ecosystem and the ecosystem of others. So we not only did training of my own or I'll say reinvented my own workforce, the people, right? But we also reinvented how they can be used or how they can be solving various other things, right? Rather than just doing those same things every day the same way, right? So it's actually always about business process and technology, maintaining the right balance to the right industry. Regardless, it's healthcare, it's BFSI or others, but it's always the right balance over there.
Yeah. You make an important point where you say that it's a combination of business and technology which is there. And all of that is feasible only if your people buy into it. And they're skilled enough, reskilled enough to understand the importance and can implement that and give you suggestions to make sure the things go better, right? Now with that itself in mind, I want to shift my focus to Stan. And Stan, a question to you. While all of this reskilling and awareness and conferences such as this kind of help get that message out, at a ground level, how are you seeing this adoption of security with a sustainability taking place within an organization or a corporate environment itself? Is it, I mean, I don't want to use the term greenwashing, but is it more of an eyewash for the investors and all saying that we are investing money in cybersecurity, we are investing money in sustainability, or are things actually changing on the ground?
I think I can talk about from Singapore government contact case. So because government have this initiative to really try to drive net zero to 2030. So I think from the whole government, we actually have some push when from a tech agency like CSA, when we do things, we have some alignments when we do solution. Sustainability will be one of the key considerations for us to do the solution. The good example would be CSA is going to relocate to a new office in about 2-3 years' time. So I'll be part of the committee to actually talk about how we actually select the specification for the new building, including the data centers. Initially, our data center requirement is actually very huge. And then when I step in, we actually convince the team to actually changing the mindset. Why we need a so big data center? We are not intend to build a huge on-prem system. We should actually push more things to cloud. And then we actually reduce the specification of the data center. So we actually do these kind of things. Whenever a big initiative, a big system we try to build, we always need to ask ourselves, can we actually do in a more efficient way, address in terms of the operation efficiency, sustainability, and things like that. So I think if you ask me from my perspective, I do see there's a change. So because the government actually did give us a big push, want us to actually take that the sustainability as a key agenda when we do solutioning.
Yeah, thank you. So what you're seeing is there's a push that's happening from the government. There's also an equal push that's happening internally within the organizations, as Randeep spoke about. And with that, I would like to move focus to Alex to say that, Alex, in your role, you kind of come across several companies who have these kind of claims and who say that they are implementing all of these kind of things. What kind of checks do you do to make sure your supply chain vendors ecosystem is truly doing what they claim to be doing when they submit a tender to you?
Basically, you need to understand what kind of mentality they have towards sustainability itself. Because a lot of times is that a lot of people would just do the base minimum to actually achieve certain targets, which is probably specced out whenever we talk to them about it. So a lot of the time, I always believe that the sustainability is just more than just mere numbers. they have to actually show that they are interested in, as usual, as I said, in the long run. What is their vision for sustainability in the long run? How can they actually articulate what sustainability is for them? And of course, if I'm representing the company that actually does that project itself, I will need to explain to all the vendors what is the long run vision of what we are doing, instead of just telling you the specs. I mean, anybody else, I mean, we've all worked in creating specs or actually adhering to specs, right? It's not rocket science. All of us could actually meet any specs that you can throw out at us, right? But how we do it in the long run, what we tell you what success is, and how we articulate success to you is very important. I mean, all of us experience enough to tell what is the real thing, what you're making up, basically.
Yeah.
Pachana, I
I'd
just
like
wanna
to add
chime in.
one point over here. So before 2019, the discussions at the CXO or all CIO levels were more about, we used to go out and talk about digital transformation, sustainability, and it was not at that high level importance to them, right? Nowadays, when we are there after the obviously the pandemic and everything, right? Nowadays, the discussion is different. The discussion is not what digital transformation is or what sustainability is. The discussion is very clear. Randeep, if we are going to implement this, what is the outcome? How am I going to be saving my revenue? What is the CO2 reduction you are going to bring in? And how you're going to be helping me to optimize my, let's say, production or my processes, or give me complete end-to-end visibility to my, let's say, overall equipment efficiency or various production processes or production lines which are running in, they get into the outcomes. So the maturity level has definitely gone up. And it's not only the push just from them, from the government, but it's the whole ecosystem, because they all have started learning that with this, actually, if they don't do it now, they miss the bus. And the competition is ahead of them, and then they'll run, in terms of cost and other things, they'll run behind.
I see that both Ian and Rahul have a point to make. So if you could, Ian and then Rahul. Yeah, yeah.
So I think I'm mindful of time because we're running out of time. So I just wanted to share, with regards to your previous question, the previous point about how do we actually know which organizations, right, are those that are actually serious. I think a very key point to look at is an organizational chart, an org chart, right? So where does ESG sit in an org chart? Does it sit in, for example, business development, right? So is it a business strategy for them? Does it sit under cost optimization, so a cross-functional function? Does it sit under marketing, right? Is this supposed to be a corporate communications take for them? Or does it sit as a separate entity with an independent budget that reports straight to the board, right? Because from the organizational chart, and I speak from experience because we talk to a wide range of companies from aviation to maritime to chemicals, right? The organizational chart will basically show you how serious an organization is for ESG, or whether it's simply to boost business in one of their business units. To use sustainability as this catch-all phrase to generate more revenue. Is that wrong? No, that's not wrong. But if you talk about businesses who focus on ESG merely from a business development point of view, then you would realize that their angle and their take at things would tend to be a bit more narrow. It would be very P&L driven, and it would not go towards the true tenets of sustainability, right, towards the ecosystem and at large. And because the red buzzer is blinking, I'll just pass the mic to Rahul to wrap things up.
I will just, in one line, I would say that it's like when you're driving a car or when you're riding a bike. Do you wear the seat belt or do you put the helmet because of the fear of getting a ticket, or is it because for your own safety? So I think that is the answer to that. There will be organizations which will do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, because there is that internal realization, and there would be others which will just stick boxing because the government has forced them to do it.
Great. So a lot of interesting insights today. We talked right from what is the need that's happening in the industry from a business's angle. We spoke about a combination of handprint, footprint. We spoke about the need for reskilling as well, both for security standpoint, sustainability standpoint. We also spoke about the need for establishing an ecosystem where it's just not you and your vendors, but even the vendors and their suppliers can feed in the data so that you know the true supply chain to the last mile connectivity is truly green, right? And they are committed and following to what it is. So I must say that this entire field is ever evolving. So far, especially in tech conferences, the topic of sustainability, security, resiliency was typically an afterthought. Glad to see that it's coming mainstream. And I'm sure next year when we come, we will have a lot more insights to share in this topic about how this has evolved. And hopefully the evolution has led us to a better place. And we don't then complain about so much heat outside. Let's see. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you.
panel,
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
sharing your insights.